Okay, okay, Sinatopi. Welcome to the Native Wellness Institute's um, Facebook Live. We call it the Power Hour. We've been going for 60 some days. We come on every day at noon Pacific Standard Time. And then that's 1 o'clock, Montana time where I am at. We every day we have a giant NWI team across 4 generations. We have elders, we have middle-aged adults, we have the Indigenous 20-something program, and then we have those in the teens, and we have programming to help bring positive, productive, and proactive things to help you think, to help you pray, to help you recapture the teachings of your ancestors. Native Wellness Institute, this is being sponsored by NICWA and the Noise Foundation. NICWA has been an ally with NWI over the years because several of our team members, including our executive director, Terry Cross was our ally and our mentor. So they've been sponsoring. So this is free to the public right now. We're trying to reach out, and it's the 9th week of this Power Hour. We go on every day and we reach out to all of the world. We invite all of our Indigenous friends from around the world and our non-Indigenous allies. We invite you to come and join us for an hour to just to rethink, all this holy time, the 9th week of staying home. I've been staying home. I wear a mask. I wear gloves. I do some social distancing, visiting, because where I live, anyway, we always visit from the vehicles, but we park way far apart, and it cracks me up because you wave down your neighbor, and then you visit. You check on them. You check on how they're doing. You check on how, or tell them how your family's doing, and we always social distance visit. So this Power Hour, the topic and the theme that we chose was to move. How do you move during this time? How do you move from chaos or drama? Even not a good frame of mind, or actually to turmoil, some kind of turmoil or toxicity. How do you move from that into wellness? How do you move to serenity? How do you move to calmness? How do you move to creativity? I really like, one of the things that I really enjoy is, I mean, everybody's getting creative. I mean, like they're sanding down things, refinishing them. They got their old res cars going. People have had time to even, I challenge you, all those 6 or 7 cars you got out in your driveway, get them running. We're so creative. People are they're getting their outfits together. Oh my gosh. I mean, people are beading, people are finishing projects, they're cleaning out their closets. It's just really interesting how our nesting, cause part of wellness is nesting. And some of our tribes, the tribes that were nomadic, your nest, your travois, and your lodge traveled with you. Some of us, we might, I always thought I wanted to live in a hogan for a while because it was circular. And they used to have an old saying in Blackfoot. They used to say the devil can't corner you in a round house like a teepee. It was just a saying. They kind of, just because when the Europeans came, they brought in a lot of new thought, and they tried to colonize us to thinking a different way. But I just remember that saying. So I wanted to, and it's just like visiting. I hope I'm not too greasy. I'm just a greasy Indian. You know how we are, like we call it Indian oil of Olay. As we get older, we still look okay. I mean, I hope I look okay, but I feel kind of greasy. Um, and I did comb my hair, because some of and part of wellness. So let's talk about that first. Is in this time, and you don't have to do it every day, but think about how you adorn yourself. Because indigenous always adorned themselves. That's why God, our ancestors, and that's the mission of Native Wellness Institute, is to keep the teachings of our ancestors alive. But how do you adorn yourself? And this varies in the genders. And I've never I'm a heterosexual, although I've worked a lot of my life with many different genders. I believe that as many stars in the sky is that's how many definitions of gender that you have. So genders adorn each other. I mean, they want to dress each other up, or they adorn themselves. But what I'm part of wellness is, keep clean. I'm planning on jumping in the lake every day, even though it's cold, and I'm just going to jump in the lake every day because it cleans you off. Take a bath, take a shower, and adorn yourself. That's part of wellness. And when you're adorned, when you dress, you could dress up. It's just, I wouldn't look shabby every day. They used to call it, don't be looking shabby. Don't just be all bushy and in your sweats. A couple days, you're with your family. Post a picture of your. Just on that note, this of this adornment. I just love that all of our tribes are posting all of their graduates from high school, from college, with their PhD, with their JDs, with all of their degrees, and all of them, they're adorned. And so this moving into chaos is, yeah, scrubby sweats, that kind of, but that's kind of dressing chaotic, eh? So I would say, adorn yourself. Try, if you sew things. Or I wear a lot of. I just want to shout out to my sister, my youngest sister, Lori. I never in our protocol, the younger sisters are they're really creative, and she from all of our lives has taken it to heart because I'm her older sister and I'm the oldest, so she's always sewn my clothes. She's sewn the dresses I wear. She sews my gets my dance outfits together. She's made my capotes. She's always done that, and for nothing, no money exchange. Till recently, I just told her, "Hey, I want to start paying you because I know she's done this, but this adornment, when you're going to wellness, wear your. I was just getting out all my Obama T-shirts. I'm gonna start wearing my Obama T-shirts because the revolution is coming." It's coming again. We just keep coming and coming. It's part of the prophecies. So moving from chaos to wellness. So I've kind of framed it. A lot of my work over the last 4 decades has been helping people to self-actualize and to become their better self, to become a better you. So part of this hour is to share with you some things to thinking about becoming the better you. And so I wanted to start with online etiquette. Eh? And I would say, you could call it Facebook etiquette. You could call it Instagram etiquette. You could call it TikTok, Snapchat, whatever, whatever floats your boat. Twitter etiquette. And we all know, sometimes people, we all have a stereotype of each of those online medias. So let's just start, thinking about online etiquette, because etiquette implies spiritual maturity. And spiritual maturity, is, and a lot of, the things that we're going to mention today is we're just talking about behaving better, thinking, even in your mind, thinking better. It's about like holding space for the sacred. So this online etiquette, and this is where slam, this virus has brought us into super duper online etiquette. And even before it was happening, we started to delve into it. It's kind of interesting. I would hear stories like, yeah, we had 100 applicants and they were all pretty qualified, but we looked at their Facebook page and, oh, we had to rule out all those ones that had inappropriate stuff on their Facebook. So just, we could, I'm not going to say what they are, but, you're transparent online. And I would, ask you to be your transparent self, because Indians know the fake. Indians are so cool. They can spot a fake at 100 yards. Because I get those looks and they kind of go like that. So we're also getting good at, we can spot it. So the etiquette, so part of the etiquette is to really say things, to make videos, to do your pictures. Think about, the etiquette of being gracious. That it's and that's, like I was thinking about when you're moving, when in chaos where there's drama, and we all have different interpretations of that. But a lot of times the chaos is, whoever is stirring that up is very self-centered. They're self-absorbed, self-centered. And that's at one extreme end. But at the other end, it's almost like the wellness part is you move yourself to being really aware of others. And so in that etiquette, being aware, how, because the awareness, I think people are, you can't change unless you experience some emotional pain. The way that we change is we have to drop to the ground on our knees and beg Istabat to be our creator. Beg him to help us. And that humbleness, when you lose a child, you get divorced, you lose a parent, you lose your way of life, you lose your job, you get cancer and you beat it. You when the pain, the human being grows the most when they feel emotional pain and emotional love, because it's almost like the more you've suffered through or that you've gone through, the more you have an ability to love more. And that ability to love, I mean, that was on, Maslow's discovery that the six Etiquette, to be the Blackfoot Confederacy, taught him. So think about that. So when you're in chaos, remember that it's someone being self-centered, like Mr. Orange. anyway, not gonna go there. I think I'm even dropping a prayer or two for him. Pitiful. So, so to move from chaos to wellness is really being, aware of others and the others, because like right now, there's a rite of passage going on in our country. Um, all of our, our 18-year-olds, all of our ones graduating from college, they're in a tremendous rite of passage. And for natives, for the indigenous, man, this is just so, it's a big deal. And for the non-natives that don't know our history, the formal education of our country it's come in baby steps of appreciation because it's been re-indigenized. We because remember in battles the winner always writes the history. And so far the battle ain't over, but a lot of our history, when the conquistadors came, when the British people came, when the French, when they came, they fought with us, and so they wrote the history. So sometimes it's not the correct history. So part of in this chaos to wellness is to know your history and to know who you are. And we're now finding those that know who they are. Know who their grandparents were, their great grandparents were, know the stories of their land. They know the rabbit stories, the coyote stories, the Iktomi stories, the Napi stories. All of the if they know those stories, they learn the behavior. And that takes us back to this etiquette, this online etiquette is, because you guys, as we go, in this next year of learning, of really the gift of this virus is going to teach us that we're going to go to online, and we're really going to start to sharpen the etiquette. And the sideline is, how wicked Indians are with their humor. They're wicked. So just be tasteful. There's tasteful humor, and there's etiquette. Around and again that chaos to wellness. So be really aware of others, that whatever you're saying or posting or that you're putting on, that you're not harming them, or you're not hurting them. So that's some of the moving from chaos to wellness. The other I was I have I'm kind of going off a framework of the behavior that brings on chaos, and then the behavior that brings on wellness. But I was thinking another umbrella, not only this etiquette, but another umbrella to embrace and to think about is, during this time, this time has been prophesized. And there's, a lot of our people are, they're doing their ceremonies and they're looking at, the prophecies. So I'm just going to speak of a couple prophecies and of other tribes, not necessarily. I mean, I'm going to share a little bit of my tribe, but one of the I was at UC Berkeley when I was 17 years old, and my family went on relocation. I was born and raised in Heart Butte, born and raised without running water, electricity, and I was raised all around full bloods, I guess. My our my parents, like the 30s and 40s, was with the outside people that came, was the first time that we had, and back then, it's a term when we had breeds, when we had half breeds. But I was thinking about some of the prophecies that, at Berkeley, and this is like, like the 1970s. So this is right after, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the Black Panthers in the 60s, and it was also around the Vietnam War. And a lot of our nation was changing. And so some of the prophecy um, this started like, 1970, was Philip Deere. Oh gosh, I just really, he was just a mentor that I just grabbed onto. There was Orrin Lyons, and Orrin is still alive. Bless his, whoever's out there, if you're by Orrin, listen to him and sit by him. And then there was Thomas Binyaka. And they brought other people, they brought other tribes, and what they did, and we're kind of, I'm recapturing this so we can move towards these topics of behavior. Is they went to all the universities. They went across the United States, and from the Ivy League to up and down. I remember they went to UCLA. They went to UC Santa Cruz, and they came to UC Berkeley. And I was like 17 years old, so when I first heard this prophecy. And I heard the Hopi prophecy, but when I heard this prophecy, it, boom, it hit me in my heart. And you know how like when you're 17, you always don't listen. So I remember Philip Deere talking about there's been these challenges, and he said it's been prophesized, and I'm not going to go into the long story, but he said it's been prophesized that there will be 4 main challenges to our Indian world, to us indigenous, and that these challenges, and I remember them saying that those, and it's metaphorically that they're speaking. He said those that will make it out on the other side okay are the ones that have long hair and know their Indian name. And so it's metaphorically, I'm not, so don't be all weirded out if you chopped off your hair in the pandemic. It's like, I don't know, I'm not gonna make it. No. Anyway, just it. So what they meant was a way of life. It is that we stick to the harmony. We stick to the rituals of the new moon to the full moon, the rituals of solstice, of equinox, of all of those, even the eclipses. So he said that there's 4 challenges. And so the 4 challenges are a black book, a song, a liquid, and a card or a deck of cards. And so people have always, they can interpret that any way that they want. Some interpret it as a book that was brought here from Europe, a song that, we know the outside culture's song, like we can all sing Happy Birthday, we can all sing these other quote-unquote European songs, but we may not be able to sing our own songs. And then the liquid, of course, we all know that, because, just one of the things, is anything that involves alcohol has never prospered our people. It never uplifted us. It never gave us greatness. It never enhanced our teaching. So the liquid, and then the card and the deck of cards. And, I heard at that time, we didn't know what that meant, but some were saying gaming and gambling, but who knows? So another prophecy at the same time was Thomas Binyaka. And I am not Hopi. I just know some Hopis. I know Don Ami, head of the Bear Clan, down there. But Thomas Binyaka, there's a lot of analysis of those prophecies. But there's like 11 main signs, and one of the signs they call the purifier. And so I'm just going to, that is this virus a purifier? We don't know, but they've been prophesized. And so one of, in this online etiquette, really, what were your prophecies? And so I want to just share with you this morning. I feel, man, I feel calm. I feel good, and that's not true all the time. I'm not like chill. But this morning, I had a dream when I was waking up, and I noticed that this pandemic has really given me time to sleep good and take a nap if I want. And but I dreamt about wild rhubarb, and so I just I, I got wild rhubarb. It grows outside, in the corner of my house, and if you see this redness, and the leaves are actually poisonous. You should never eat it. But this rhubarb is very, it's a holy plant. So I dreamt about it, and I dreamt just like what in my dream I could see that red, but the red was it was coming out of the earth to feed everybody. And I thought, well, it's wild. There's a lot of it. And I thought, some of our world must be hungry right now. And that's boy, that hurts. But I saw this redness, and it was just gleaming in the dream. So as I was getting prepared, I text Jolene and stuff, and I'm not a, isn't this, I just want to, this plant is so beautiful, and it dang, it tastes good. So I was thinking, you know how Europeans get ready for a power hour? They have and it's they have a PowerPoint, or they have a guideline of a speech, or they have these ways. And I thought, nah, I'm gonna go hike, I'm gonna go walk, I'm gonna go pray. That's how I'm gonna get ready for this PowerPoint. And so I just stared at the water. When the water has like diamonds on the water, it looked like diamonds on the water in preparing. And then when I came back, I went and got my pastascan, my tobacco. And tobacco is a sema. Every tribe has their rituals, but ours had 230 songs that go with the tobacco planting. And Amos Leather up at the Sixikai was, from our knowledge, was the last person to know those 230 songs, but a lot still know those songs. I know, and I've learned this, from our tobacco coalition, in growing tobacco, that, there's all kinds of protocol, like, you had to have a peer person, like stick their toe in the ground in order to put the seed. So, there's all these protocols in planting. So this online etiquette. Okay, so let's kind of move back to that. Really, let's just grab one of, in etiquette. When you don't have it, your online posts or your online videos, if it's negative, or if it's gossip, then I mean, my people are different tribes. They all want to know who is, had the axe and was chasing. They all want to know. But think about the etiquette. If whatever you're causing online, is it helping? Is it it's almost like is it trustworthy? And so some of that etiquette, just be mindful of, don't character assassination or ripping people up online. And so this this from chaos, there's some specific things that I kind of wanted to, and I guess I'm telling it in story. So one of this dream that I had of this plant, it caused me to think about etiquette in behavior. And so I put a framing, and so I'm looking at it. So sometimes, in the chaos, when chaos happens, whoever's causing it is usually probably pretty selfish, and they're acting out of their own selfishness or their own self-centeredness. And so one of the ways that you can move out of and to bring to wellness is to move from that extreme end to an end that is generous. And so sometimes, in generosity, really think how you can really start to bring generous things. I mean, like an example is, I love how everybody is just going online and showing how to make a mask. I love how everybody is just making masks and sending them out and giving them away. But generosity also, how you're generous with your words. And so think about this, are my words, is the words that come from me encouraging, uplifting? Are they loving words? Is that's an act of generosity, rather than being about me, myself, and I. And a lot of some of the chaos that's happening. I was just thinking about, because you hear Indians, they'll just say, "God, did you hear that one tribe got so many million CARES Act, and they just spent it in 2 hours." Everybody got mad. They gave it per capita. And they just spent it, and didn't get no ventilators. Didn't get prepared. Anyway, there's the that kind of chaotic kind of stuff that goes on. So then sometimes it's about another in chaos. Often is reactive. Someone just reacting. And getting upset, and that reactive, it's impatient. Okay, so really think about often the way to move immediately to some calmness or some wellness is to take it in and not react. To even say a prayer about it. To watch that reaction, or that whatever that turmoil is, that toxicity, and not get involved, and actually back up and step away and just say, I'm not going to get involved. And actually, when I see someone kind of losing it, I always just step back and just start praying for that person, for them to get centered, for them to think about the people they love, for them to remember their pureness, their childhood, when they were a child and they were pure. So that's another thought. The other is and this one, man, this one is it's like at the core. It's in chaos. Whenever there's chaos during this pandemic, it's often someone that is carrying a resentment, and their resentment, we like on our res, it might be 20 years old, or one family might have not looked right at another family, and then it's carried on in families, and it can cause disturbances. So so that's at one end. So then at the other end, to bring it to wellness is forgiving. And actually, forgiving people. And I always say, how Indians are. You go to the store, and you're in the same aisle as someone, the exact same aisle. They're coming one way, and they pretend they don't see you. Like, like I don't see them, that is so obvious. That's a person carrying some kind of resentment. So, one of the ways you could start the forgiveness and start it immediately is just to go up to that person and say, "Oh, okay, well, hello. God, you're looking good. It's really good to see you. How's your family doing?" Share something of your family and then say, "It's really good to see you. I hope everything goes good for you," and shake their hand. Well, right now, with if you both have gloves on, and then Lysol each other. Those of us who got Lysol, we got all this stuff. You could elbow bump. It's so funny how we elbow bump and we do all these other kinds of things, but acknowledge them and have forgiveness. Start new. Start on new territory, not holding that resentment because they belong to that family or whatever else. And often that's, where some of the chaotic behavior comes. Does that make sense? Because I was just thinking, because what I've been noticing and I've just been really, really appreciating is that people are having forgiveness. Online, they're having forgiveness. They're having forgiveness with their past relationships. They're having forgiveness with their exes even. I see. That's pretty good. They're having they're mending. They're mending their relationships. And so part of, moving towards wellness is think about which relationships you have to mend. Think about, which you may have started off on the wrong foot, or you may have done something and you just need to reach out and apologize. Apologize, if you've done anything or said anything that hurt them, and then ask them if you could start over again, if you could start on new territory, and that we could renew our friendship, or renew our kinship, or renew our relationship, or being romantic with the person you've been for forever. Re-romanticize your relationship of love. So that is just some thoughts again. And I was trying to think about, I want to go back to that patience, it's when people are impatient that things don't roll out very good. And so during this pandemic, what are some tangible things that can bring patience? I was, Native Wellness Institute, we have these coloring books, and that Shailene Joseph, and there's many, many ways, but Shailene, and so when she sent it to me, I sent the first ones that she sent, I sent them to the women that are in prison at Billings, the women's prison, because I thought that would be really cool, these color. But I kept one, and I was just coloring. So part of this this forgiving or getting in that patient space, do the things that give you patience. My other family member has a 2,000 piece puzzle. They sent us a picture. It's got the whole dining room, 2,000 pieces. Put a puzzle together. Go get a puzzle, 1,000 piece, a 2,000 piece, and sit around with your family, and that will teach each and every one of you. And it's okay if it takes you 2 weeks or 3 weeks to do it. Because while you're sitting there analyzing the pieces and visiting, you're learning patience. The other is, I was noticing, I love what some teachers did, even when we first had to stay at home. They sent kids home with dirt and a seedling, and they were supposed to water it. And the, second grade, third grade, and even you can do this up into adults, plant something, and that plant will teach you patience. Think about, even our stories, our stories. I'm just looking at the clock because what's happening in this pandemic is I don't stare at the clock. I didn't, the clock is not my boss, but I honor, that I get this 1 hour with you. So, really think about the other activities that could give you patience. You know, planting something and watching it grow. And then, those of you, my hat's off to you, that have been homeschooling and that have your children at home and you're the teacher. I say to you, 'cause I am just so impressed with the parents that are trying to do their job and trying to homeschool their children at the same time and to provide structure. I have one relative who has gone to even getting her teacher status and does all this stuff online, and she just has a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and she's learning math with them. I just see the incredible amount of patience. That's wellness. That's patience. So when you're moving from another area, and again, I was thinking about this online etiquette is part of the chaotic behavior is to be judgmental. And that boy, that's a big umbrella. But if you're judgmental, try in order to bring it to wellness. Try to even bring in the words in your language or in English around providing constructive criticism rather than and it can be in your mind or with words that you're actually telling someone, visiting with them, telling them the good things before you bring out the constructive criticism rather than just being judgmental. Now that's a biggie because, one of the things that we have to softly and gently and graciously in order to bring to wellness is all the racism and the racist acts that you see in our world and in our country. But at the same time, don't be cautious. Be turn it around. Like it's kind of like when you change laws. I was thinking, because at first you kind of have to change the laws. Like, yes, you cannot own human beings and keep them in slavery. You cannot do that. So in changing laws, I was thinking about, there is a constructive way, and I don't know where this comes from, but I remember a story. I come from a generation where, when we were in like the 4th grade and the 5th grade and the 6th grade, did you know it was illegal for girls to wear pants? Girls could not, at our school, if they wore pants to school, they were suspended. So, yes, I am from the dinosaur age. Yes, that was the law. But that's, so that's like a gender law. The boys could wear pants, but the girls could not. So I was just thinking to myself, and I don't know where it came from, but no, I do know where it came from. Nisto Nsitipi. I was raised by men and women and two-spirited people that thought life givers were sacred, that women were sacred, and they honored them and they cherished them. And so there was our principal. His name was Mr. Sjogren, and I remember we couldn't wear pants, and that was we were athletes anyway. So what did I do? We got all the girls together and we made a pledge, and not all of them do it because some of them were scared and they didn't want their parents. So there was a whole bunch of us. We all decided to wear pants to school on the same day. So, woo wee! It was, so then, remember this is, in the 60s, you could be a little bit radical. So we all wore pants to school and we all got suspended because that was the law. So that in racism, you change the laws. So anyway, so then what happened is, we all got suspended, and our parents got, thank the God and thank Creator for our parents and our administrators. They all went to the next PTA meeting, and all of those adults had a meeting, and they changed the law that from now on girls could wear pants to school. So I was just thinking, we have to start saying, we have to start looking at the laws, because these racist people have to have consequences to their behavior. It's just like, I'm glad they got those guys that shot our poor brother that was jogging. There was a time, when lynching, and a time when it was, in California, just for example, I was thinking, in California, where I lived, they used to have a bounty on men and women, and the bounty is you had to bring back their scalp. They paid for the scalp, but in order to prove that they were a male or female, you also had to cut off their genitalia and bring it, and then you got the money. So that law had to be changed. Anyway, let's in our remaining time, I wanted to talk about what behavior brings, because we're going to keep it on behavior. What kind of behavior brings chaos, and then what kind of behavior we can move towards in wellness. So one of on one extreme is how, like, when someone is very smug, very smug, yet yes, I can drink this Clorox and I'll be fine. They're smug. They're real stubborn. That kind of behavior. That behavior brings some of the chaos. And so on one side, there's that behavior, and then on the other side of that behavior that brings wellness is to try to be open-minded. Try to keep an open mind, and be gracious. Just be gracious that with that open mind, rather than being smug or stubborn about some beliefs. It's just, like I was just thinking, a lot of people are trying different, for those of you, those of you who've got the pandemic diet or whatever, I just had close friends have health consequences because of this pandemic diet. Being diagnosed with diabetes, having other kinds of complications because of the weight gain. So, just really being open-minded with that, rather than being stubborn and saying, well, I've always drank this many Cokes, and just sat. Because Thosh is teaching us that sitting is the new smoking. So, don't be sitting all the time. And I was almost going to jump up, but I've already, but being really gracious and open-minded with your body and your own self-care. To really being, this is the temple that you live in. This is the temple you got to take care of. This is, so you can't be abusive and be toxic to your body. So thinking about that type of being open-minded and gracious. Another area that I wanted to talk about is in chaotic behaviors, being and it's kind of a simple one. It's like from being unreasonable to becoming reasonable. And we're juggling that right now, because one on the reasonable end, a lot of our reservations and a lot of our counties, our states, and our world are really trying to be reasonable with lockdown, or and we'll just keep it to, I'm going to keep it to the tribes because this is Native Wellness Institute, and so we're gonna keep it to Native. Native reservations right now are trying to be really reasonable with the ordinances and the laws and the lockdown or the stay at home, and they're doing it because they want to save lives. So that's an area, like it causes chaos when you're unreasonable. So, like an example of being unreasonable is not wearing a mask. They're now it's the droplets. Wearing a mask is going to protect others and protect yourself. So, behavior that's unreasonable is just, oh, that doesn't apply to me, or I already got it, or I blah, blah. All those excuses. That's bull. That's bull. Reasonable is loving and cherishing your elders and your compromised health members, and wearing the mask and the gloves. So I'll just put that out there because, mark my word, we're going to learn a hard lesson in this next year and a half. So let's be reasonable. Why not be reasonable? Let's see. I wanted to. I was. There's so many things I want to share with you. So I'm going to go back to being what brings wellness and creativity. I was there's people have been sending gifts. It's really good. Send gifts in the snail mail. Or send it. You can order it and have it Amazon deliver it and stuff. But I wanted to share with you one of the most profound gifts that I received, and just talk about creativity. So this gift is carved. It's carved out of one piece of wood, and I hope you can see it. It's a beaver, and we're getting in really close there. They carved this beaver, and they painted it with the Blackfoot prayer colors, and it was sent to me by the head of nursing of the Blackfeet Community College, where I was a board of trustees for 3 years. And so this woman that was head of the nursing program sent a carved beaver and also a carved bear, and she said to select one and then give one to my mother. And I just thought it was of the greatest gift that came in the mail. I get there's many gifts. And so think about that generous. We're going to go back to being generous during this time, and being generous with what you have. So another act of generosity, and most of you've heard me talk about this story before, but if you look at this beaver and the way that it's painted in this little canoe that it's in, these colors, it was when the Hudson Bay Fur Company came. When the Hudson Bay Fur Company came into our area, and they were battling with other trading posts, and they were trying to, let's just say, every time they came, we'd just kill them. So they just thought, yay, they got some real good, their laws, their boundaries. So what they learned was etiquette. They came in, and it took them a while, and they learned that, the heads of our societies, our Ixkanaks, our Horn societies, our Moto Keeks, Buffalo Women's societies, the Kamipoismaniks, the Headdress societies, the Brave Dog, Crazy Dog Society. Well, they learn protocol, and they learn. So the thing that they did in order to come into our territory and to not be afraid of being killed is they made a Pendleton blanket with these colors. And these colors, they had noticed that these colors were hung in the trees as prayers. They noticed that these colors were used in certain ceremonies. So they were calculative. They were strategic. They used our culture and our protocols, and they made this blanket. And they came into the territory, and with our highest esteemed elders, male and female, they gifted them the Hudson Bay blanket with our colors. So these and then they graciously, so this is, they graciously asked if they could come into the territory and trade. And because they had followed protocol, our elders then let them into, our territories from Saskatchewan all the way down to Yellowstone. And it's a spiritual territory. It's still there. It's still there. It's a spiritual territory. There ain't no borders and no boundaries, because spirits don't listen to those kind of borders. So I just wanted to, I want to generously gift you that story, because I want you to think about the stories in your tribe. And I was just thinking, I think of Will Penn. I know Will's out there. Yay, Will! Just some of the stories that you told me when you were in a different land, and you were out. And he was a medic. I'm not gonna. Will can tell you that story, but I think about when you tell stories, it's like a gift. And Gene Tagabon, all of our team, we're always gifting you with stories. And so the greatest gift that you could give during this time is to gift us with your story. And in your story, make yourself the hero. And it'll be your coup story, your story about how you thrived and how you practice wellness during the pandemic. Our main, I don't know why, I just want I mean, I do, there are some beavers. The beavers are starting to swim out back, and I never disturb them, but I like to get a picture, because they're busy, anyway. I just really love, and I live on a lake where there's a lot of stories that come out of this lake. But this beaver, for some reason, this beaver, stories of the beaver can teach you a lot. Beaver songs, beaver stories, beaver people. So I just wanted to, as we're kind of winding down, I've said some English words, and I don't know them because I'm a practicing speaker. I'm be generous, be gentle with people who are practicing speakers. It isn't just black and white, fluent and not speaker. We're practicing, and so we're trying to learn the words. It's just like right now, I want to learn the word for wild rhubarb. So I messaged. I always like to message Red Gun, because he's kind of a ruthless teacher. Anyway, I said, how do you say wild rhubarb? And I know by the end of the day, he's going to visit with several, and he'll instruct me. So I really trust that instruction. But back to this generosity is really learn your stories. The coyote stories, reread them, re-listen to them. Go online. Iktomi, if you're not Nakota, Lakota, Dakota, your Iktomi, your spider stories, learn them. If you're, like your rabbit stories, any of the stories, and I really invite our southwestern tribes to share your stories with us. I love some of the stories of the Navajo people, when they take their hand and they teach you. We want you to be generous with your stories, and that's what we need. That's what we need to center us. That's what we need to calm us, and that's what our people are looking for to thrive during this time. while we're staying at home, because you're courageous. By staying at home, by, cooking, by cleaning your nest, by reestablishing the relationships with your siblings, with your children, with your mate, with your life partner, you're counting coup. You're victorious. And that's, Native Wellness Institute. That's why we come on every day. We do this hour with you. Is that we wanna promote you, and there's a lot of self care things. Make make yourself priority, and just the self care. We started this off, so I was just thinking, keep a journal. Keep a journal of all the lessons you're learning, as we go out each day, or we experience. And I think I'll end with this story. I'm honoring our rules on our reservation, so our we ask all of our elders to shop locally, and just to shop at IGA, or we have a tribal store at 7 a.m. on Tuesdays. And so I've abided by that rule. I haven't gone off res. I don't anyway, but what happens is at 7 a.m., and the first time I went, man, it was kind of cool, and it was interesting because I noticed there was a lot of the language speakers, or the practicing language. That was who was in the store. But as we go each week, or some go every 2 weeks, I noticed that we just get excited. We see each other, okay, Sinadapi, we all, not so much elbow, but we're respecting. There's almost like an excitement for that whole hour. We're visiting, we're sharing. Some are talking about Bountiful Basket. Some are sharing, what they're rebuying, what they're trying. There's all this visiting, and then they all say, "My family's good. My family's good." And then I say, "My family's good too." And then there's something in that hour, and that's how you move from just bringing it back to plain simple wellness. Enjoy the love of your family right now. Enjoy the time you spend with them right now. Grow your love. And I guess that's my parting words to you. We never say goodbye. We say we'll see you later. Kita kito matsuno. As I say goodbye to you, I really invite you. Now I'm kind of getting close, and so you can see my crease. Is grow your love. Just grow your love, and wrap that etiquette online. Wrap your love around people. Jolene, sometimes she's really good at, she says, like big red ribbons. Wrap it around people. Just wrap it around them, and wrap everyone with love. And we're learning unconditional love during this time. So I'm going to say Kitakito Matsuno, and we'll see you again. And Kitsikako Mim, that means I love you.